I stand here today as your president, proud to open the John Pombe Ofuli Bridge. This is Tanzania's promise to itself, built by us for us with no debt or delay. A brand new bridge has suddenly shown up right across Lake Victoria in Tanzania. This bridge is very long. It measures 3.2 kilometers from one end to the other. Tanzania paid for the whole thing by itself. They did not take any money from other countries. They did not borrow any loans. They did not ask for help from donors. Now this bridge is the longest one in all of East Africa and Central Africa. Many people are asking questions. How did Tanzania manage to do this all alone? Why did they choose to build it at this time? What big changes will it bring to Africa? We are going to look into all of this. We will go step by step to understand the story. No one saw this coming. No one thought the bridge would be so huge. No one expected it to be ready so fast. Then on June 19, 2025, just as the sun was starting to rise, thousands of people from Tanzania gathered near the edge of Lake Victoria. They stood close to each other, shoulder to shoulder. They looked out over the water. Something amazing was happening. The bridge came out of the morning mist. It looked like a giant spine made of steel and concrete stretching far across the lake. There were no fireworks to celebrate. The bridge did not need them. Just seeing it, there was enough to make everyone feel excited. It was louder than any big noise. Children wanted to see better, so they climbed up onto the rooftops of houses. Traders who sell things at markets left their stalls empty. They stopped working to watch. Local fishermen came too. Some of these fishermen had never left their small villages before. They stood there quietly, watching as the first cars started to drive across the bridge. In Tanzania, building big things like roads and bridges often takes a very long time. People have big dreams, but things move slowly. This bridge felt different. It felt like time was speeding up or bending in a strange way. The name of the bridge is the John Pombe Magufuli Bridge. Before it was just an idea on paper in some old file about city planning. Now it is real. It is strong. It is here for everyone to use. What made this moment so special was not only how big the bridge is. Yes, at 3.2 kilometers long, it is now the longest bridge in eastern Central Africa. But the real surprise was the big difference it made. Before the bridge, there was nothing but water between the two sides. People had to use ferries to cross. Those ferries were not reliable. They were slow. People waited for hours in lines. Sometimes the water was calm, but other times it was rough. Now with the bridge, everything changed. One day, people were stuck waiting on the water, losing time. The next day, they were driving across in just a few minutes. They could roll down their car windows, turn on music, and wave goodbye to the old problems behind them. The news media came running to tell the story. TV cameras, reporters, and photographers all showed up. Even reporters who had seen many things before found it hard to believe. They tried to describe what was happening. Some called it a miracle of engineering from Africa. Others said it seemed too perfect, like it was planned in secret. One reporter from another country was heard saying, "I thought this kind of big project only happens in places like Asia or Europe. Not here in Africa. Not right now." But it did happen. It happened in Tanzania. And it did not happen in the big famous cities like Dar es Salaam or Arusha. It happened in the lake zone, an area that people often forget about. That made it feel even more important. It was like the quiet parts of the country were suddenly in the spotlight. On that special day of opening, so many people came to see the bridge. Thousands stood together near the lake's edge. The mist from the water was still hanging in the air because it was early morning. The bridge looked massive and strong. People were full of joy. Children on the roofs waved their hands. Traders forgot about selling things. Fishermen who usually stay in their boats on the water stood still and watched. Cars began to roll across the structure. It was a moment that made the whole country feel proud. The bridge did not have any fancy shows like fireworks or loud music. It did not need them. Its size and presence were enough to impress everyone. It stretched out like a huge animal's back over the water. In a country where new roads and bridges are rare and often delayed, this felt like a big leap forward. People felt like the country was moving into the future fast. The name John Polly Magufuli Bridge became famous quickly. Everyone was talking about it. Before this bridge, crossing Lake Victoria was a big problem. The ferries were the only way. They took a long time. You had to wait to get on. Then the ride was slow. Sometimes the ferries broke down. People could lose hours or even a whole day. Now the bridge makes it easy. Cars and trucks cross in minutes. It is a huge change. People can drive with the wind in their hair and music playing. They look back and see the old ways fading away. The media people were busy. Journalists who knew a lot about news struggled to keep up with the story. Some said it was a great example of African building skills. Others thought it was too sudden, like a surprise show. Foreign reporters were shocked. They said big bridges like this are for other parts of the world. But it happened here in the lake area, not in the capital. This made it symbolic. The forgotten places were now the main news. The bridge is named after John Magufuli. He was the president of Tanzania before the current one. He passed away, but his ideas and dreams are still alive. Naming the bridge after him is not just a simple name. It is a way to honor him. It is a tribute to his work. It shows that his ambition, his controversies, and his strong spirit are remembered. For some people, the name brings back memories of a leader who was full of energy and determination. For others, it is a reminder that when leaders go, they leave behind things that last. Like this bridge made of steel and concrete. Naming it after Magufuli is like sending a message. It says, this bridge is not a one-time thing. It is part of a bigger plan. It is about continuing what was started. It is unfinished business that is now finished. President Samia Suluhu Hassan is the current leader. She walked across the bridge during the opening ceremony. She did not make big speeches or promise miracles. She did not need to. The bridge itself was the miracle. She just said the bridge is open for use. The crowd went wild with cheers. It was not fake applause. It was real celebration from the heart. It was the sound of people seeing their country do something amazing. But in all the happiness and photos, one question was on everyone's mind. Where did all the money come from? There were no signs from donors, no banners saying thank you to other countries, no flags from foreign places. The usual signs of help from outside were not there. This made people curious, not just in Tanzania, but all over Africa. Because if Tanzania built this big thing without borrowing or asking for aid, it is more than a bridge. It is a challenge to the old ways of doing things. Behind the scenes, experts who study the region were not just looking at how the bridge was built. They were looking at the money side. Building a project that costs $300 million without any loans is something new for a developing country. It is rare. It goes against what people think. Many think Africa has to borrow money to build big things. This bridge says no. Africa can be independent without always needing stability from others. The truth is that Tanzania did something bold. They changed how they planned their money. They made space in their budget for this big project. They did not wait for permission from anyone. Over a few years in quiet ways, the government took money from inside the country, money from selling gold, from farms and from taxes like value-added tax. They put it into a special fund for building things. There were no big announcements, no meetings with donors to ask for help, just paperwork, waiting and keeping at it. From some old documents from Parliament in 2020-23 that got leaked, we can see what they did. They stopped buying some big things from other countries for a while. They cut back on some subsidies that helped people. They paused other building projects that were not as important. They slowed down hiring more people for government jobs. These changes were not forever, just long enough to make the bridge the top priority. The idea was easy to understand. Spend the money one time, spend it in a smart way, and own the whole thing yourself. President Samia Suluhu Hassan did not talk about this kind of strong national economy when she was campaigning. But after she took over from Magufuli, she saw how many African countries worry about debt. She decided to do things differently. Instead of asking what the country can afford with help, she asked what the country can change to do more. This was a new way. What makes this even bolder is that it was not just about not taking loans. It was about avoiding the rules that come with loans. In most big projects in Africa, the lenders from other countries say how to do things. They set the time. They bring their own people to check. They hire workers from outside. They ask for parts of the project to go to private companies. Tanzania said no to all that. They built the bridge with their money and on their rules. The Magwaful Bridge is like a wall against money problems. It keeps out the endless meetings with lenders. It avoids the conditions that come with loans. It stops the advice that is really control. It protects from changes in money value or politics from outside. This kind of control is not loud. It is quiet. But it might be the strongest part of the story. You can learn a lot about a country by seeing how its people move from place to place. In Tanzania, for many years, crossing Lake Victoria was not easy. It was not about being convenient. It was about being patient. The ferry from Kigongo to Bususi took more than an hour. That is if you count the time to get on, the delays, the times when it broke, and how unpredictable the lake can be. Some days the wait was so long that people could take a nap, buy food to eat, and charge their phones completely before they even got on the ferry. Then the bridge came and time changed a lot. Now cars that used to wait in long lines for hours cross the lake in just 4 minutes. Only 4 minutes. The change is so big that some local people call it like teleporting from one side to the other. Drivers still look at their watches when they get to the shore. Not because they have to, but because it is an old habit from the ferry days. It shows that for a long time, time was something that controlled them. They could not manage it. Now they are in control. The effects are spreading out fast. In those few minutes that are saved, whole ways of doing things are changing. Truck drivers who carry fish, cotton, and grain from the lake area to the big city of Dar es Salaam are saving almost a full day of travel. The routes are straighter and faster. For things that can spoil, like fresh food, this means the difference between being good to sell and being thrown away. For traders who buy and sell, it means more profit instead of loss. For businesses that need things on time, especially farming and fishing, the bridge is not just a shortcut. It is a complete change in how supply chains work. One driver who takes Nile perch fish from Mwanza to markets in Rwanda told a story. He said he now gets there without having to add ice to the fish 2 times. That small thing saves him money on costs. If you think about hundreds of trucks doing this every week, it adds up to a big increase in how well things work. And this goes across borders, too. But it is not only about moving goods, it is about moving people, too. School children who used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to catch the ferry for school now get more sleep. They arrive on time without being tired. Health workers can go between different areas without worrying about ferry schedules. Expectant mothers who need medical help in emergencies are not delayed by water anymore. They have a solid road under them. The water does not wait for anyone, but the bridge is always there. The most interesting part is that movement is now predictable. In this area, things used to be full of surprises. Traffic, trade, even tourism could change suddenly. The bridge brings back something simple but powerful. It brings reliability. With reliability, people can make plans. With plans, they can have bigger ambitions because now they know exactly when they will arrive. They start thinking about going to new places. The areas of Kigongo and Bususi used to feel like 2 separate parts. Now they are becoming one big economic area. The value of land on both sides is going up fast. New restaurants and shops are opening along the roads that lead to the bridge. New ways to travel are being made. These connect Tanzania better with neighboring countries like Uganda, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The bridge is more than a local thing. It is a path for the whole continent. Some people who plan for the region call it Africa's shortest long-distance trade route. That is a nice way to say that just 4 minutes on the road has done more to speed up trade between countries than many years of talking and meetings. It is not only trucks and tourists that get better. The bridge is changing the hidden map of who is important in moving things around the country. Villages that were quiet by the lake are now becoming centers for transport. They have hubs for logistics, places to store goods, and even small banks. Places that were ignored before are now busy with people passing through. And most important, they are making money from it. If the bridge is a machine for moving things, then what it moves the most is not cars or goods. It is jobs and chances for people. That is where we go next. Remember to like the video, share it, and subscribe to get more stories about Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let us keep going. Every bridge has to carry weight. But not every bridge carries hope and promise. The Miguel Bridge does more than carry vehicles. It carries what people expect for the future. You can see this in how it creates jobs, new businesses, and changes in local areas. These effects are spreading from both ends of the bridge. The first changes were small. A grill by the road near the Kigango side started selling grilled tilapia fish and maize to people driving by. Then a place to fix tires opened. Then another one. And soon there were 5. Before long, the area that was just a dusty spot for ferries became full of activity. People were starting small businesses. These were not big planned areas with money from outside investors. They were quick economies made by local Tanzanians. They used the location and the new possibilities as their starting point. But the changes did not start when the bridge opened. They started years before during the building. More than 1,500 people from Tanzania got jobs on the project. Many of them did work that usually goes to workers from other countries. They were surveyors who measure land, welders who join metal, analysts who check the structure, operators of drones for high views. Chinese companies were hired to build it. Yes, but there were strict rules. They had to train local people. They had to teach skills. They had to leave behind more than just the bridge. And they did that. For the first time, engineers from Tanzania were not just watching. They were leading parts of the work. They were in the rooms where decisions were made. They did the measurements. They worked on the math. This gave them new confidence. The workers who learned on this bridge are now wanted for other projects in the country. Things like new highways, stadiums, and power plants. So the bridge did not just connect 2 pieces of land. It connected a whole generation of people to better opportunities. When the construction workers finished and moved on, the local economy did not stop. It got faster with the time to cross the lake cut to minutes. Small traders and people who provide services are setting up along the new path. Markets are appearing out of nowhere. They sell fresh fruits and vegetables. Electronics like phones, clothes, and materials for building. Every hour the bridge is open. It sends money into the communities that were once stuck because of distance. But one of the biggest surprises is in tourism. Before the lake area was too hard to reach for most tourists. It was not on the main paths. Now it is an easy stop for anyone going to places like the Serengeti National Park, Rabondo Island, or other parts of the Lake Victoria area. Tourists from inside Tanzania, who were often forgotten in plans, are now exploring their own country more. For people with average money, weekend trips that were complicated before are now simple. They just need gas in the car and a sense of adventure. Lodges where people stay are getting bigger. Guest houses are full of bookings. Companies that do tours are making new plans around the bridge. They treat the bridge not just as a road, but as a place to visit. Some offer drives at sunrise across the bridge with baskets of breakfast and time for photos by the lake. Bus drivers have changed their routes to use the bridge. Companies that move goods have opened offices in the area. People who sell land say prices near the bridge have gone up 3 times in just 6 months. The bridge is like an engine. Everything around it is moving and growing. For all the money and jobs it brings, the bridge carries something even heavier. It carries meaning. It is working well. But it is also saying something. It says what Africa can build without asking for permission. It talks about legacy from leaders. It is about being independent. It is about changing the rules for who can have big dreams. There is something that makes people uneasy about a project that is too successful. Not because it has problems, but because it shows how long people have accepted less. That is what the Magufuli Bridge is doing. Not only for Tanzania, but for every other country in Africa that is still waiting for donors to say yes to their plans. When the building dust was gone and the economy started to grow around the bridge, something odd happened. The usual messages of congratulations from big Western groups did not come. No tweet from the IMF saying good job. No ceremony with the World Bank, just quiet. Because this bridge tells a story that those groups do not want to hear. A story of Africa doing well without their watch, without their help. It is not by chance that the bridge has the name of John Palmer Magufuli. He was a leader whom many loved and some feared. He believed Africans can build their own things, pay for their future, and speak for themselves. Naming the bridge after him was not just paperwork. It was a strong statement. It said, "We have not given up on that idea. We have made it part of the land." Even more, the place where the bridge is built is important. It is not in a capital city with embassies and news. It is in Wanza and the Lake Zone, places that were seen as not central. This changes the map of development. It moves power away from big cities that look to foreign countries. It gives power to areas that leaders often ignore. The Maguli Bridge is like making power spread out written in the ground. But the strongest thing the bridge has started is fear. Not for the people in Tanzania, but for those who want countries like Tanzania to always need help. If one country can do a big project like this with only its own money, others will want to try. If they try, the whole system of aid that has control and conditions will start to fall apart. Already there are talks in Zambia. Leaders are thinking about their own plan for building without outside money. In Ghana, people who study money are looking at Tanzania's way. In Senegal, students are asking hard questions. If Tanzania can, why not us? The bridge is a guide not for how to build, but for how to be bold. But being bold brings responsibility. Tanzania now has to show that this way is not a lucky thing. That being independent can last. That a bridge made by Tanzanians for Tanzanians can stay strong, grow, and make others want to do the same. It needs to be watched. If this works, it must be kept safe from plans to sell it, from debts that look like friends, and from advisors who want control back in quiet ways. Symbols like this do not only give hope to those who need it. They make the powerful worried. Still, what is over Lake Victoria now is more than a symbol. It is an idea that crosses borders. It is a question made of steel. It asks every African country that is told what it cannot afford, what it must wait for, what it is not ready to do. The Magufuli Bridge does not want claps. It does not need them. It challenges you to think, what if this is not special? What if this is the new way? What if Africa's future does not come with a sign on a loan from outside, but with a shovel, a plan, and no one else is okay? Because if 4 minutes on a road can change so much, what can 4 years of being free build? What if Africa stops asking for permission? What if doing things alone becomes normal, not a shock? Tell us in the comments. What if the bridge is not just a road, but a warning? Do you want more stories like this? Subscribe and hit the bell. We bring videos on Black culture, civilization, history, and how great Black people have been. Thanks for watching.